Hello, this is Ben Television News Roundup, a compilation of major stories in the week ending. I'm Tunde Alabi. Thank you for being part of the program today. British Prime Minister David Cameron has said London needs to write regulation to continue to deliver on job and wealth creation, including pay rise. The Prime Minister disclosed this at the Prime Minister's Question Time, where Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn grilled him on the new EU legislation that will stop workers' exploitation.
The national minimum wage was a Labour introduction. The national living wage proposed by his friend the Chancellor is frankly a corruption of the very idea of it. It is not, in reality, a proper living wage. But, Mr. Speaker, my question was about the Posting of Workers Directive, which would prevent the grotesque exploitation by unscrupulous employers of workers being moved from one nation to another in order to undercut the wages of the second nation. Will the Prime Minister be absolutely clear? Will the British government support this very, very important reform to stop this exploitation?
As I've said, we're working with the Dutch presidency. We think there's merit in a lot of the proposals, but we want to make sure we get the details right. But let me pull him up on something. He's just described the national living wage as a corruption. The national living wage, £7.20 an hour, a £20 a week pay rise to some of the poorest people in our country. I really think before this, he ought to get up and say he supports the national living wage and thanks the government for introducing it.
Mr. Speaker, I support a wage rise, obviously. The point I'm making is that it is not a living wage. It is not a living wage as is generally understood. Mr. Speaker, saying yes seems to be one of the hardest words for the Prime Minister. For a third time, could he just say whether he does or does not support the Posting of Workers Directive? He might be aware that Patrick Minford, a former economic advisor to Margaret Thatcher, has said that the European Union has a negative effect on the City of London, and he would want the shackles of European regulation removed. Does the Prime Minister believe that membership hurts the City of London, or does he believe that European Union regulation of the finance sector in Britain and British-administered tax havens would help the sort of bad practice exposed by the Panama Papers or underlined by my friend in his earlier question today?
Well, this is an area where we basically agree with each other about the European Union, so I'll try and identify a question in that lot and answer it as positively as I can. First of all, on Patrick Minford, I completely disagree with the economist Patrick Minford. He wants to see manufacturing industry in our country obliterated, and I think would be a disastrous step if we followed the advice that he gives. In terms of the City of London, we need the right regulation for the City of London to continue its massive rate of job creation and wealth creation in our country, but we also need to remain members of the single market because it's absolutely vital for this important sector of our economy. And I hope on that, as on the issue of the national living wage, we can find some agreement between each other.
Mr. Speaker, the question I also put to the Prime Minister, which perhaps he wasn't listening to, was what he was going to do. What I asked was what he's going to do about the UK-administered tax havens, which receive large sums of money from dodgy sources, which should and must be closed down, as should any tax evasion in the City of London. We need a British government that's prepared to chase down this level of corruption.
This government has done more than any previous government to deal with this issue of making sure that our overseas territories and crown dependencies are not tax havens but behave in a responsible way. And as I said earlier, they're now taking part in the automatic exchange of tax information. That didn't happen before. They've signed up to a common reporting standard for multinational companies. That didn't happen before. And they're getting central registries so we can find out who owns the companies in each territory. Now, I think all of these things are real progress. Of course, we would like them to go further and have public registries of beneficial ownership like we are introducing in this country, not because of anything a Labour government did, but because of a decision by a Conservative Prime Minister. But where I would urge him to be fair on these territories and crown dependencies is many of them now have gone much further even than many developed countries. Indeed, actually, you get more information now out of some of our crown dependencies and overseas territories than you would get out of the United States in terms of Delaware. So let's be fair on these for which we have an obligation and a responsibility. We're making them improve their record, and he should acknowledge that.
Mr. Speaker, a month ago, the Prime Minister informed the House that he welcomed the European Union proposals on country-by-country tax transparency reporting. We also agreed with that. Yet, on the 26th of April, Conservative MEPs voted against these proposals. Did they not receive a memo from him, or what? People expect that trade in this country, people expect that people pay their tax in this country. Tomorrow, the European Parliament will be voting again on country-by-country reporting. Can he assure the House that Conservative members of the European Parliament will support these measures, as he told us they would a month ago?
Well, the most important thing is that we support these measures. This government supports these measures. Indeed, these measures have only come forward because it's been a Conservative government here in the United Kingdom proposing them. Now, the only area of disagreement, I would suspect, between himself and myself is I don't think we should set a minimum tax rate for these countries. That's always been a position, actually, of Labour governments and previous Conservative governments, that while we want to make sure all these territories behave properly, we don't actually make them set a minimum tax rate.
Duncan Smith and Boris Johnson have condemned as unacceptable the accusation that Brexit campaigners are extremists. The Brexit campaigners said that the Britain in Europe campaigners should focus on the substance of the campaign and not create fears.
The European Union, particularly for the UK, has become a force for, I believe, social injustice, and why leaving provides a vital opportunity for us to be able to develop policies that will protect the people who often find themselves at the sharp end of global economic forces and technological change. My plea to Better Off Britons who have done well in recent years is to consider their vote in the referendum to vote for a better deal for people who haven't enjoyed the same benefits as maybe they have. Because the EU, despite its grand early intentions, has become, I believe, a friend of the haves rather than a friend of the have-nots. I don't know in what world it's extreme to want to have your democracy back, the power over what you do, control over your laws, and the right to make decisions about your people elected by British people and rejected by British people when you get it wrong. If someone wants to tell me that's an extreme position, then I want to know what defines that. It is not extreme to want democratic government in your country to be responsible to the electorate and to make the laws that best help them rather than to have 60% of those laws made in Brussels. So I have to say, those people in the Remain really need to stop throwing threats and ridiculous terms like that around, because it just demeans them and it demeans the debate. And the point is, the 5th largest economy in the world, set to grow to be the 4th largest economy in the world in the next few years, with the 4th most powerful defence structures. Are you telling me, with a trade deficit with the rest of the European Union, we aren't going to be able to arrive at a deal which is particular to the UK? I don't think so. I think they'll do that straight away.
I do think it very odd that we're being called extremists and irrational and all this kind of thing, when only the other day we were being told that World War III was going to break out if we voted to leave. And really that cannot be sensible. Everybody knows that the peace in this continent is really guaranteed by NATO. And if it really is true that World War III and bubonic plague are about to break out, then why on earth are we having this referendum? This is a referendum about taking back control of £350 million a week, which we could spend according to our priorities here in this country. It's about taking back control of our borders, and I think it's about getting back control of British democracy. And I believe in this country. I love Europe. Of course, I've got many wonderful, happy memories of living, working, going on holiday to Europe. most of my family come from one European country or another. Of course we love Europe, but there's a difference between Europe and the institutions of the European Union. And they are now evolving, I think, in a direction that is simply not compatible with long-term health of UK democracy. That's my view.
Meanwhile, Labour Party has insisted that Britain is better off remaining in the European Union.
We are here to launch the Labour In campaign. This is the gorgeous bus that is going to be touring the country to talk to people about why it's so vital for our workers' rights to stay in the European Union. So let's go and have a look. Right, we have already got some volunteers on the bus who I'm going to say hello to. Hello there. What's your name?
Sophie.
Sophie. Why have you decided to get involved in the campaign?
I wanted to get involved because there are so many issues nowadays that require a coordinated response. Things like the refugee crisis and the environment can't be dealt with unilaterally by a country, and I think the EU is a perfect vehicle for this.
Brilliant. And hello.
Hi,
what's your name?
I'm Kira.
And Kira, you're getting involved in the campaign. Why is that?
I wanted to get involved because as a student I like that the EU allows me to study wherever I want and wherever I need. It also provides over £1 billion worth of investment into our UK universities, which allows them to provide the world-class education that they do.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Sophie and Kira. And if you just come back here, we have got Alan Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn. Alan.
The Anton Deck of the Parliamentary Labour Party.
This is going to be your home.
It is for the next 6 weeks, yeah. So we're going to tour the country. Thanks to Jeremy's leadership on this, every sinew, every muscle, every bit of effort of the Labour Party will be dedicated to this campaign because we think it's the most important political campaign of our lifetime. It kind of subsumes the normal run of politics, local elections. So it's far more important than that because this is forever. So winning on 23rd of June is crucial.
It's forever, Jeremy. Why do we have to stay in?
It's about hope, really. It's about hope of decent working conditions across Europe, about hope for the free movement of people, about hope on environmental protection across the whole continent. You can't protect the environment within national borders. Pollution flows across the frontiers.
The governor of Kaduna State, Nigeria, Nasir El-Rufai, has tasked Nigerians to acknowledge the efforts of Nigeria military to rid the country of Boko Haram and other terrorist organizations. The governor was speaking at Vintage Red Bull fundraising dinner for Nigerians fallen heroes in London.
The Boko Haram insurgency has led to the death of many innocent citizens in Nigeria and has left many homeless. The Nigerian military has struggled to contain, protect and maintain peace in the affected areas. In an event put together to celebrate Nigerian fallen heroes, the governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, while commending the organizers of the event, said that the Nigerian military has given a lot for the territorial integrity of Nigeria.
I think this is an excellent and very commendable initiative because it is not often that Nigerians remember and recognize the contributions of the Nigerian military to nation building, to our national unity and progress. People only now recently recognize the role of the military in fighting terrorism like Boko Haram and so on. But the Nigerian military has been around for a long time. It has been one institution that represented our unity in diversity. It's one institution that has stepped in whenever the unity of the country and the integrity of the nation is at stake. So I think an event like this, which recognizes and gives recognition to those that have fallen in the defense of our nation, is an excellent initiative. Well, I want to use the opportunity to commend Vivian for this initiative. I think she should be commended and supported by all of us in Nigeria and outside. I think anything that recognizes the contribution of our military to Nigeria's unity and stability is something that ought to be encouraged, and that is why the Kaduna State government strongly supports what Vivian is doing.
The event, which attracted Nigerians from all walks of life, was dedicated to celebrating and recognizing those who have fallen on the battlefield fighting insurgency. Osarimen Opaloa reporting for Ben TV News.
Meanwhile, the governor has dispelled the rumors of his intention to contest the 2019 presidential election in Nigeria. Speaking in London, El-Rufai said that he had no such plans.
No, I don't look beyond my current position. I am, by the grace of God, and with the support of the people of Kaduna State, the governor of the state, I'm trying to do the job the best that I can, and I don't look beyond that.
Anything for 2019?
I hope that President Buhari runs for a second term so that he will complete the work that he has started. And I'll be there to support him in any way possible.
As world leaders conclude plans to deal with the menace of corruption worldwide during the anti-corruption summit in London, Nigerians have reacted to British Prime Minister's attack on Nigeria as being fantastically corrupt.
Cameron may have appeared on the Panama Papers a few months ago, but he had the confidence to refer to Nigeria and Afghanistan as fantastically corrupt countries. Was this statement hypocritical, or was it a fact that needed to be said? I took to the street to find out what people thought about this statement and also their opinion on President Muhammadu Buhari's response. Here's what they had to say about it.
They've always stigmatized Africans. They use us, they drop us, and then they start to call us names. It's funny, they are doing worse things here, but it's all covered up because of who, even he himself, his father offshore thing. That what do you call that? But when the black man does anything, it is, it's expanded. Worse things are going on in this country, but we are blacks, we are Africans, and so we have to carry that cross maybe for the rest of our days.
It's a fact. We have to be, at least it's empty, we have to be speaking the truth. It's a fact. So let them go back with the shame. I know he has done well for asking, but let him go back and think about what that comment really is and make a good change for the Nigerians.
I think it's true as well. You know the reason. I know in Afghanistan is a lot of corruption. Yeah, and the corruption, who's the responsible for the corruption in the Western country? Like USA and UK, they're responsible for the corruption. Yeah.
After I say it's shows of thing that Nigeria is corrupt, is one of the corrupt country, but the reply that our president gave to him is very, very good. I really appreciate what our president said.
Nigeria is fantastically corrupt. All the money that has been taken from Nigeria has been brought to this country. So the addict says the person that steals the money is not a thief, but the people that they brought the money to, that embrace the money, those that can be called the real corrupt people. You see, that's the way I look at things. If England or America, if they've rejected the money that they've brought from Nigeria or from other part of the country, if they've rejected the money, then they won't be encouraged to bring the money here. You see what I'm saying? They won't be encouraged to bring the money here in England. The money will have to stay in the country. But because they encourage them to bring the money here, then it says that this country is more corrupt than even Nigeria. It's more corrupt than the whole world.
He's right to say so, because it's part of the Africa. They are doing it in the whole Africa. When they steal the money, they bring it back to the British or America or Germany, whereby the country was suffering. You see, whereby these people, they are gaining, because the money is supposed to be in the country to satisfy the people over there. And the money brought here is, there's nothing, it's meaningless.
He's just giving his own view. It's not all what he said about Nigeria is true or is dipped reality. I'm not agree with him. And you know what I mean? In any circumstances, we have the pros and cons as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, but Cameron saying that Nigeria is A and B, so we, as an indigenous people, as an Africans, so we see it from a different perspective. As a leader, and then with another leader saying this to your country, you know what I mean? It must raise a concern, you know what I mean? It must raise different feelings, you know what I mean? So the president of Nigeria is right to say what he said. You know what I mean? We support him very, very much. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, we will put it in two ways. It'll be truthful, it'll be other way around. if we look at it, it disrespects Nigeria. They teach us the football. It's a football game he used Nigeria for. And it uses us that we have no sense. They teach us how to thief. At the same time, you bring us out again. Our wealth has been with you. Why don't you return our wealth to us? If Nigeria, if on the ground we cooperate, we should call for his resignation by disrespecting us. That is exactly what I say. He's being hypocrite and doing what is not expected of him to do to us. Most of our wealth, if being taken out of this country will fall down. They teach us how to thief, but their system teach us how to play football, and we lose to their hand.
When people comes over here, politician comes over here, buy houses, go to America, buy houses where, you know, people are suffering. So, and when you see how much Nigerian politicians are being paid, I don't think David Cameron is wrong. He's saying the truth. That's the way I say it, you know.
Yeah, good day. Like what some other people have said, that calling the kettle calling the pot black. That's what I felt the statement pointed to. Your corruption is all over the world. And to say that some countries are fantastically corrupt. And I believe the origin of corruption came from this Western world, where they've embedded in their contracts, we may call it whatever name, bribery is bribery, that they are allowed to give us some certain things out in order to get some contracts from the third world. That is the beginning of corruption, and that is the height of corruption. Having said that, I believe the way President Buhari responded was very mature, not taking an issue with somebody who I believe that goofed and said what was not supposed to be said. I think President Buhari responded the right way by saying that he's not looking for any apology, but he wants all the assets that has been stolen into this place by Nigerians back to Nigeria. I think that's a challenge to the British government and to the Prime Minister of this country, David Cameron.
Well, you've heard what the people had to say. Some people said there was an atom of truth in what he said, and others didn't quite agree with what he said. It all depends. I am Osarimen Opalua, reporting for Ben Television.
With our story on Nigeria, we conclude the news roundup for this week. Thank you for being part of the program. I'm Tunde Alabi. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye. As part of our continued efforts to reach the African and other ethnic communities in the United Kingdom with greater impacts and create a platform to hear your silent and unheard views in this hugely growing community in the United Kingdom, our channel, Ben TV, presents to you another live current affairs television program. Our focus on the program is to review and discuss issues around the diaspora community in the UK. The program offers you that unrestricted voice on issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Another business segment of Dialogue in Diaspora, 2 to 3 p.m. every Monday. But guess what? You know you can be part of the program. Just send us an email at bentelevisionuk@gmail.com. Dialogue in Diaspora, your voice, your opinion on our TV.